we look at the World Health Organization and they are making careful plans for the next pandemic, which is inevitable. Do you have anything to say about that? There are proposals to lock down, vaccinate, mask wearing. These are all on the table, and it is the playbook for the next pandemic. Would you want to comment on that?
Well, I really hope they're taking into account the consequences of long lockdowns in countries like Peru and elsewhere. And I really hope they assess the intergenerational impacts of these measurements. I think, when you criticize remote learning, you also have voices saying, okay, but we have to adapt to the new reality, artificial intelligence, whatever. I'm totally in favor of educational innovation. I'm a professor. I have to learn. You have to constantly learn about all technology and things like that. Fine. But that is not an excuse to transform the provision of a public service with no accountability. You see? And again, excusing these types of situations on whatever happened during the COVID years. So I really hope that the next pandemic playbook does review the premises in terms of education. And I think, this imposed remote learning, that's my personal opinion, has done more harm than good. And I know many people will disagree on this for sure. But from what I see, in countries like Peru, with the level of inequality we have, the level of poverty we have, the differences within private systems and public educational systems, you are deepening inequalities. And I remember, back in pandemic years, during, 2021, when we began advocating for school reopening, we faced a lot of criticism, and people would say, but look, these are, like the privileged class that is bored of having the children in their house, and they're not thinking of the poor people, that those are the ones that are going to get infected, and they're going to be, killed by the virus, and you're not but again, if you would go out of your house and go to these places, you could see people having a very difficult time to secure a meal. Children, I remember, because I did some field work back in those years, children were left alone in the streets. You could see children.
This is really, really interesting, because this is personal eye view. We've got the data, we have studies, we know roughly what happened. But your field work, I'm really interested in that. You saw children left alone. From what age?
From all ages. Because people had to go to work.
So they were left alone in their houses. That's unsafe. And what else did you see?
The streets, or children, for example, when you go to markets, you could see children, in the market stalls with their parents. The children were doing homework, the parents were working, because everything was open, but no schools. So you see a total nonsense. And that's exactly the same nonsense that happened, last week when we had these closures because of traffic and
absolutely brilliant, Norma.
Yeah. We even had, funny thing in these educational lockdowns. That's the phrase I would like to use in this conversation. The educational lockdowns we faced since late September until now. The incoherence out of it is that everything else was open. But for some reason, it was decided by our authorities that it was a good and viable option to lock down educational services. Yeah, and again, I think that's something that we need to discuss more, is the governance implication of the COVID years. Whatever happened in the COVID years, some people would say is the past, but they have created legacies in the way governance systems operate, the way policies are framed, and the way politicians think. So that's something that I think we need to address. Many politicians across the world were very happy with their executive emergency orders,
How are your children, by the way? Just last question, your 14 and your 11-year-old, are they doing all right?
Yeah. They hate Zoom school, but they're fine.
My daughter, her camera broke.
Yeah.
So the teachers could never see her.
Yeah. No, okay,
Or
even, like, I mean, it's when we had this last educational lockdown, I mean, even,
they don't.
university students, they just don't take it anymore. I mean, it's
They don't take
absolutely,
it. And
and I
you can't concentrate when you're watching someone talk at you. It's so wearing. No one can really learn properly like that. And the amount of children that just didn't do it, they just didn't turn up. I don't know. Even in the private schools, it was just ridiculous. We had a similar thing here, but not quite so extreme, where the state system, the teachers just didn't bother. And then in the private system, they tried, but a lot of the kids just were in bed and they just didn't get out. Yeah, so it was all. I think
yeah.
Joe Wicks. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much. It's been
Anyway,
brilliant.
thank you. Thank
Brilliant.
you. I was really happy to, well,
Well,
for this
likewise.
podcast.
Yeah,
And
I'll come
yeah,
and see you in
I'm
Lima.
telling you, we've been following Collateral Global people during the pandemic years.
It's
Because,
lovely to hear.
we
Yeah,
had this, like echo from the Peruvian government, and we had, a lot. I mean, our medical community, I mean, they were very conservative. I don't know why exactly, but they were, hardliners, most of them. And in private conversations, I mean, they would tell you something different, but they were very afraid of the public reaction, because back in those days, you don't want to be, labeled as an anti-vax or things like that. People were really afraid about how they were going to be labeled, no, in
we had
public.
it here, and we had censorship as well. Quite a lot of censorship.
And like when I was um, very involved in doing the campaign with Volvamos a Clases people, I even had people calling me at Telegram, Norma, drop it. Go and write your things. I mean, stop it. You are not a health expert. Why are you doing that? You're going to get problems at work. It's like, go to hell. I don't care. It's just like, come on,
You're a
Really, come
brilliant, strong
on,
lady.
but
What you got called? I don't know whether you can capture this, but there were a couple of things you got called. Didn't you call a child killer or something? Was that right?
oh yeah, of course, we were child killers, we were lazy mothers, because we don't want to convey our duties. And you could see that, in social media. Because I mean, but the good thing is that, when time passed, the tide, turned. Because I mean, people could see the incoherence. I mean, you had everything open, come on, Even, the hardliners at one of the, school teachers union, they decided to support us because they were fighting with the government. But anyway, they supported us, so that was good. But again, I mean,
Fend. Yeah.
I could see, this level of censorship, because I even remember once I was speaking to an authority from an important educational institution here, and this person told me, but you school robbers, I mean, you're quite annoying, but you have to be annoying, because I mean, if we will have them being annoying, you will have kept the system closed for how many years? Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
really
and you're
you have to
right.
be
Yeah.
annoying. But we did got, for example, I remember I got personal threats on the internet. I remember once I got this, anonymous Twitter respondent said, I know your daughters go to this school, that type of thing, but not from something official, not from the same. But I got it, from, I'm an academic.
That's
So
scary.
so
Yeah.
I got comments, from people in this sector saying like, "Oh, come on, you should focus on your work. Why are you doing that? Come on." So, now that this situation happened, and finally the whole, educational system reacted, was like, look, we were not crazy.
You're
That
right.
we were not crazy at all. Now it's happening for all these stupid reasons, and it's because we comply with something that we were not meant to comply. The government did it because we allow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple
A
as that.
brave lady. Anyway, well, I won't keep you any long. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we'll stay in touch. And
Okay.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.